Hello Mark, my name is Peter, and my student number is 55, and I'm a freshman. Now, I'm going to read a speech. John McWhorter, Texting is Killing Language, JK. We always hear that texting is a scourge. The idea is that texting spells the decline and fall of any kind of serial literacy, or at least writing ability, among young people in the United States and now the whole world today. The fact of the matter is that it just isn't true, and it's easy to think that it is true. But in order to see it in another way, in order to see that actually texting is a miraculous thing, not just energetic, but a miracle things, a kind of emergent complexity that we are seeing happening right now. We have to pull the camera back for a bit and look at what language really is. In which case, one thing that we think we see is that texting is not writing at all. What do I mean by that? Basically, if we think about language, language has existed for perhaps 150,000 years, at least 80,000 years. And what is arose as a speech? People talked. That's what we are probably genetically specific for. That's how we use language most. Writing is something that came along much later, and as we saw in the last talk, there's a little bit of controversy as to exactly when that happened. But according to the traditional estimate, if humanity had existed for 24 hours, then writing only came along about 11 or 7 p.m. That's how much of the literary thing writing is. So, first there's a speech, and then writing come along as a kind of artifice. Now, don't get me wrong, writing has certain advantage when you write, because it's a conscious process, because you can look backward, you can do things with language that are much less likely if you are just talking. For example, imagine a passage from Edward Gibbon's The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. The whole engagement lasted above 12 hours, till the gradual retreat of the Persians was changed into a disorderly flight, of which the shameful example was given by the principal leader and the Shernans himself. That's beautiful, but let's face it, nobody talks that way, or at least they shouldn't if they are interested in reproducing that. Laughter is not the way any human being speaks casually. Casual speech is something quite different. Linguists have actually shown that when we are speaking casually in an unmanitor way, we tend to speak in word packets of maybe 7 to 10 words. You will notice this if you ever have occasion to record yourself or a group of people talking. That's what speech is like. Speech is much looser. Speech is much looser. It's much more telegraphic. It's much less reflective. Very different from writing. So we naturally tend to think, because we see language writing so often, that's what language is. But actually what language is speech. There are two things. Now of course, as history has gone by, it's been natural for there to be certain amount of bleed between speech and writing. So, for example, in the Dixon era now, it was common when one gave a speech to basically talk like writing. So I mean the kind of speech that you see someone giving in an old movie where they clear their throat and they go, ladies and gentlemen, and then they speak in a certain way which has nothing to do with casual speech. It's formal, It used long sentences like this given one. It's basically talking like you're right. And so, for example, we're thinking so much these days about Lincoln because of the movie. The Gettysburg Address was not the main meal of that event. For 2 hours before that, Edward Everett spoke on the topic that, frankly, cannot engage us today and barely delayed. The point of it was to listen to him speaking like writing. Ordinary people stood and listened to that for 2 hours. It was perfectly natural. That's what people did then, speaking like writing. Well, if you can speak like writing, then logically it follows that you might want to also sometimes write like you speak. The problem was just that in the mechanical sense, that was harder back in the days for the simple reason that materials don't lend themselves to it. It's almost impossible to do that with your hand except in shorthand, and then communication is limited. On the manual typewriter, it was very difficult, and even when we had electric typewriter or then computer keyboards, the fact is that even you can type easily enough to keep up with the pace of speech, more or less, you have to somebody who can receive your message quickly. Once you have things in your pocket that receive the message, then you have the condition that allow that we can write like we speak, and that's where the texting come in. And so texting is very loose in its structure. No one think about capital letter or the punctuation when one texts. But then again, do you think about these things when you talk? No. So therefore, would you when you were texting? What texting is, despite the fact that it involves the brute mechanics of something that we call writing, is finger speech. That's what texting is. Now we can write the way we talk, and it's a very interesting thing, but nevertheless easy to think that still represents some sort of decline. We see this general vagueness of the structure and lack of concern with rules and the way that we're used to learning on the blackboard. And so we think that something has gone wrong is a very natural sense. But the fact of the matter is that what is going on is kind of an emergent complexity. That's what we are seeing in this finger speech. And in order to understand it, what we want to see is the way, in this new kind of language, there's a new structure coming up. And so, for example, there's a texting convention, which is LOL. Now, LOL we generally think of as meaning laughing out loud. And of course, theoretically, it does. And if you look at older texts, then people use it to actually indicate laughing out loud. But if you text now, or if you are someone who is aware of substrate of texting the way it's become, you will notice that LOL does not mean laughing out loud anymore. It's evolved into something that is much subtler. This is an actual text that was done by a non-male person of about 20 years old not too long ago. I love the font you are using, BTW. Julie, though, thanks Gmail is being slow right now. Now, if you think about it, that's not funny. No one's laughter, and yet there it is. So you assume there's been some kind of hiccup. Then Susan says, "Lo, I know. Again, more gulfing than we were used to when you're talking about this inconvenience." So Julie says, "I just sent you an email." Susan, "Though I see it. Very funny people, if that's what though means." This Julia says, "So what's up?" Susan, "Though I have to write a 10-page paper." She's not amused. Let's think about it. Though it's being used in a very particular way. It's a marker of empathy. It's a marker of accommodation. We linguists call things like that pragmatic particles. Any spoken language that used by real people has them. If you happen to speak Japanese, think about the little word "na" that you use the end of a lot of sentences. If you listen to the way black youth today speak, think about the use of the word "yo." Whole dissertations could be written about it, and probably are being written about it. A pragmatic particle. That's what law has gradually become. It's a way of using a language between actual people. Another example is slash. Now we can use slash in the way that we're used to, along the lines of we're going to have a party slash networking sessions. That's kind of like what we're at. Slash is used in a very different way in texting among young people today. It's used to change the scene. So, for example, this Sally person said, "So I need to find people to chill with." And Jack said, "Haha, you could write a dissertation about haha too." But we don't have time for that. Haha, so you are going by yourself? Why, Sally? For this summer program at NYU. Jack, haha, slash I'm watching this video with sounds player trying to shoot with one eye. The slash is interesting. I don't really even know what Jack is talking about after that, but you notice that he's changing the topic. Now seems kind of mundane, but think about how in the real life, if we are having a conversation and want to change the topic, there are ways of doing it gracefully. You don't just zip right into it. You will pat your thing and look wistfully off into the distance, or you will say something like make you think when it really didn't. But what you are really laughter. What you are really trying to do is change the topic. You can do the while when you are texting. So ways are developing of doing it within this medium. With this medium. All spoken language have what the linguists call a new information marker, or two, or three. Texting have developed one from this slash. So we have the whole battery of new constructions that are developing. And yet it is easy to think, well, something is still wrong. There's a lack of structure of some sort. It's not as sophisticated as the language of the Wall Street Journal. Well, the fact of the matter is, look at this person in 1956, and this is when texting doesn't exist. I Love Lucy is still on the air. Many do not know the alphabet or the multiplication table, cannot write grammatically. We have heard the sort of thing before, not just in 1956. 1917, Connecticut school teacher. 1917. This is the time when we all assume that everything somehow in terms of writing was perfect because the people on downtown A-by are articulate or something like that. So from every college in the country goes up the cry. Our freshmen can spell, can punctuate, and so on. You can go even farther back than this. It's the president of Harvard. It's 1971. There's no electricity. People have three names: bad spelling, incorrectness, as well as inelegance of the expression in writing. And he's talking about people who are otherwise well prepared for college studies. You can go even farther back, 1941. Some long-lost superintendent of the school is upset because of what he has for a long time not with regard the almost entire neglect of the original, blah blah blah. Or you can go all the way back to 63 AD, laughter, and there's a poor man who doesn't like the way people are speaking Latin. As it happened, he was writing about what had become French, and so there are always laughter Applause. There are always people worrying about these things, and the planet somehow seems to keep spinning. And so, the way I'm thinking of texting these days is that what we are seeing is the whole new way of writing that young people are developing, which they are using alongside their ordinary writing skill, and that means that they are able to do two things. Increasing evidence is that being bilingual is cognitively beneficial. That's also true of being bilingual. That's certainly true of being bilingual in terms of your writing. And so texting actually is evidence of a balancing act that young people are using today. Not consciously, of course, but it's an expansion of the linguistic repertoire. It's a very simple. If somebody from 1973 look at what was on the dormitory message board in 1993, the slang wouldn't have changed a little bit since the era of love story, but they would understand what was that message board. Take that person from 1993, not that long ago. This is Bill and Ted's excellent adventure. Those people take those people and they read a very typical text written by the 20-year-old today. Often they will have no idea what half of it means because whole new language has developed among our young people doing something as mundane as what it look like to us when they are batting around on their little devices. So, in closing, if I could go into the future, if I could go into the 2033, the first thing I would ask is whether David Simon had done the sequel to The Wire. I would want to know, and I really would ask that. And then I want to know actually what was going on downtown Abbey. That's be the second thing. And then the third thing would be please show me the shift of texting written by the 16-year-old girls, because I would want to know where this language has developed since our times. And ideally, I will then send them back to you and me now so we could examine this linguistic miracle happening right under our noses. Thank you very much. Applause. Thank you. Applause.